You're listening to Two Chunks and a Hunk, a movie podcast where we give pumps and dumps.
Hello, and welcome to Two Chunks and a Hunk. My name is Jordan Wonders, and this week I'm your chunk.
I'm Doge, and hey man, make hunk, not war.
Very good.
And I'm Carter. That's America's hunk.
Wait,
I'm the hunk this week.
you can't both be the hunk.
There's some time travel shenanigans going on.
Do you both really think you've got a claim to the throne right now?
For sure.
I think I do.
For sure.
Okay, here's the deal. Each of you may state your case.
Okay.
And I, the objective third party, will decide who gets hunk status for the week. Doge, state your case. The court recognizes Justin Dozier.
That might be the first or second time my first name's ever been said on our show.
It's a big one.
Once upon a time when I was a young college boy, I didn't have a lot of money or food to call my own. One of my roommates ordered a pizza
Oh, man. I know this.
and threw it into the trash.
This is my most told story about you.
Threw it in the trash, but still in the box. And it had been sitting on the counter for like a day, but then threw it away. And
Not in a refrigerator, by the way.
I
On
came
the
home
counter.
from class and I was hungry, as all good college boys are. So I looked in the trash can and I saw, hey, there's a whole box of pizza. And I opened the lid of the box and there was like one or two pieces. So I took it out, popped it in the microwave and scarfed that bad boy down.
And then turned around.
And my roommates were watching me.
We were.
They had seen me do it.
We watched the whole thing and he
You
did not
want
know.
to take it out of the
So the
trash?
next time that I wanted to do that, I made sure they weren't there. But I didn't make very sure.
Much
because
like a
they saw me
raccoon.
again.
Really?
Yes. Yesterday, before going to Avengers Endgame, had a relapse. I was at work.
You were
and
clean for so many years.
I was clean for so long. I was at work. And earlier in the week, they had got some Chinese food. And I had had my eye on this orange chicken for the entire week of work. And it was the kind of thing where I would sneak in after lunch to the staff room and
Just to sniff it.
make sure there was nobody there. Like there were so many times I walked in there and been like, yep, just in here for a water bottle like everybody else does. But when nobody was there, I would open the fridge and peel back the little lid and sneak a piece of orange chicken.
Cold?
Yeah.
Ugh.
I'm nasty. And
You are.
yesterday I was at work late and I was like, I don't have time to get dinner before the movie. I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to get some Chinese food.
No.
So I walk into the staff room and I open the fridge and it's gone.
Where could it be?
So I looked in the one place I swore I would never look for food again. And there was a tray of orange chicken, still cold, like hadn't been in there long,
Oh, man.
in the trash can. So I pulled the lid off of it and I had to take a candy wrapper out of the orange chicken.
Oh, Doge.
And I scooped it onto a plate and microwaved it, and that was my dinner.
Doge, you've been complaining all day about your stomach doing weird things. And the whole time you've been blaming it on a completely different thing. Hey, bud, I know what's wrong with you.
I'm literally just putting that together. I was like, yeah, I haven't eaten anything weird lately.
Yeah, hey, dude, I know what's wrong with you.
Yeah. So I am confirmed a nasty boy, and
Yeah.
I recognize that about myself.
Yeah, certified.
Wow.
That is my case.
So
Jeez, Carter,
to come
you
from
may
a
approach the bench.
completely different direction. Okay, because we're about to do an epic film on heroes. I had a specific situation to where I felt heroic, but it wasn't completely intentional. So I'm out at a lake house, good friend of ours, Mariah Kelly. Sorry, I say Cowley because that's her maiden name. It was at the Cowleys, her parents' lake house. And there's a lot of dogs out there. Some of them that were just meeting because a lot of the people that were coming over were bringing their dogs.
Sure.
Lake house, a lot of room to run. But then two of these dogs go at it. And then two other dogs. And
In
these
the-
are all
in the mean way or
what
in
I
the
would
I love
call
you way?
large dogs in a mean way.
Okay.
Not a Wii Sports situation.
Right. And it's one of those things where It sounds awful. Looking back on it, and almost immediately looking back on it after I had done this, I was like, you know what? There was really not any blood. Like there was not going to be a fight. It just sounded awful.
Right.
And so something inside me, I stand up and I just start to run to these 4 dogs.
Oh, no.
There had recently been rain in the area. So when I am but maybe 4 feet away, I slip. And this slip launches me, not head first, because for some reason, maybe it was because I was between trying to break something up and also to catch my fall. It was 2 fists first. I dive into this group of dogs. And I figure while I'm there, I'm like, oh, shoot, what do I do now? So while I'm there, I like start trying to separate them, except I have to pull my wrist deep fists out of the mud because I literally like javelined into the ground to break them up, to find that one of them's back leg is hurt, not because of the dogs, but because I dove into a dog. I punched a dog to try and break it up. And to hear, there were like 8 people watching. So to hear the reactions and then like people saying like, they were processing at the time. They're like, oh, good. At least somebody's going up there. Oh, that's my dog. So maybe I should go too. And then to be like, but then you just dove. And I was like, hey, that was not intentional. But I had to like, basically like take off my watch, like wash my hands, wash my legs. Like I was a mess.
You're filthy.
And really,
covered with that
not
dog
all for
punching
naught.
dirt.
I mean, I guarantee you those dogs didn't fight again because
They
they're
learned
like,
their lesson.
yo, that big one over there is crazy.
Yeah. He does not like when we do
Let's
this.
not even talk to each other anymore because he's wild.
They drew a chalk line down the middle of the house. and-
Basically.
Dang.
But that was my.
Okay. So this one has been easier for me to decide than I thought it would be, simply because one of these actions is by definition the chunkiest action and antithetical to the hunk mindset. So for that reason, I will award hunk status this week to Carter Willis.
Hey!
Because
That's fair.
no one should be rewarded for what you have wrought.
You should be
That's fair.
punished. You actually are being punished.
Yeah, no, my tummy is
Intestinally.
not happy with me. That's so funny.
Hey, and truth be told, I'm not real happy
hilarious.
with your tummy there, Doge.
Yeah, it's a bad time over here.
Casa de Chunk is not a big room. Enough dilly-dallying. Do you know what time it is, friends?
Tell me
It's
this.
time to talk about this movie. This movie, of course, being Avengers Endgame. Now, before we move forward, this is the part where I say, if you have not watched this movie,
What are you doing?
back out now.
What are you doing?
Back out now.
Get out of here.
This is our first, biggest, and only warning. Full of spoilers, this episode will be.
Yeah.
So
Please do not listen to this before you see this movie. We will prevent you from enjoying yourself.
journey no further. Go see it. It's worth it. Come back, then listen. We love you.
Yep. And honestly, before we even get into the synopsis, like one of my pumps was how thoughtful production and marketing of theaters and stuff has been. And the
Yes.
directors, the Russo brothers, to say like, hey,
Keep it quiet.
respect this. And fortunately, I never heard, even in lobbies full of people,
Yep.
No spoilers.
I never
got a
heard a
spoiler.
spoiler. And so there was a pump on that from the start. And so, especially if someone is being that, even outside of the fact that this was the penultimate, like the end of a massive successful series, anytime someone is being that thoughtful, you know that there's going to be some twisty stuff that happens.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
spoilers would,
So
would
there's
ruin
your,
the experience.
There's
for
your
you.
full-length spoiler warning. And with that being said, Doge, can you find some way to give us a synopsis of this movie?
That is the question I've been asking myself since we walked out of the theater last night. Avengers Endgame picks up right where Infinity War left off. And we have kind of an opening section of scenes in which our heroes try to go to Thanos' planet, the Garden, and retrieve the stones. But when they arrive, they find that he's destroyed them. So they kill him. Thanos dies like in the beginning of this movie.
Yeah.
We have a time jump 5 years later. And then the Avengers spend the rest of the movie trying to pluck the Infinity Stones from time. And and it's not a closed loop. It's not an Interstellar situation or a Harry Potter situation. This is a branching timeline. They pluck the Infinity Stones from time and bring them to the present to fashion another gauntlet to undo the snap and finally defeat Thanos and his armies and the Black Order.
Oh my gosh, it's so good.
Let's freaking go.
That's Endgame.
Is it time to talk about it?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
You lead the way.
Okay.
I don't know how we're going to talk about this one, so you go.
I'm going to try to steer this ship as best I can.
You do a good job.
The opening of this movie with Hawkeye and his family, the cold open.
Cold.
I mean, it hurt me.
I knew it was going to happen.
Yeah,
I was still bummed.
It had to.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting everyone. I was expecting either just the kids or wife and two of the kids. It was his whole family.
Yeah.
Dusted, boom,
Yeah.
gone, snapped. And I mean, it set the tone for the rest of this movie.
Yeah.
Just like the stakes and the fear and the anger and the sadness.
It really gave me a lot of pathos for his goofy haircut.
Yeah, sometimes I like to think that when people encounter a difficult moment in life, they often try and control the things they still feel in control of, such as haircut, hair color, piercings, tattoos.
Trash can food.
He did two, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure,
You
trash can
and
food.
Hawkeye are the same.
Yeah, we're
He
the
did
same.
Different eye, though.
He did two of the three. He had that full sleeve
Yeah.
later on.
Look good. Little
But-
samurai skeleton.
Yeah, he was crushing it. But man, that was brutal.
That
to
was
start.
brutal. And it was, and there's no reason to forget that, but sometimes in superhero movies, and I'm not just going to, this is not an episode to bash what DC has done, because DC has done good things outside of the DC.
Sure.
But like, these are legitimate actors playing these roles. Like, these are great people that are already well known.
Yeah.
And Jeremy Renner's performance,
Oh my gosh.
we get to see so many, and we'll touch them as we go. And we're probably not going to get to all of them because it happens a lot, because there was a
Right.
lot of depth in this. But seeing how everyone is dealing with grief, dealing with
Yes.
it couldn't be, and it's in no way ignored the fact that half of the world is gone. And we just get to see how people deal with that. And I really tried to hone in on that.
Yeah.
The jobs that were done here were phenomenal.
Yes.
I completely agree. In a world where Infinity War is the Avengers riding an all-time high and on the defensive,
Yeah.
Endgame is a movie where they are the most broken they've ever been and on the offensive.
They have something to avenge.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it almost didn't even feel like a follow-up to Infinity War
Yeah.
because of how different it was tonally, but that's such a good thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so glad that it didn't just feel like part two. It felt like this is the necessary response to what has already happened.
I agree.
Yeah, for sure. Real quick, while we were still, and I know we do this, we even mentioned it in the last episode, like, we spent a lot of time in the first 2 minutes on the podcast. But so I really want to be able to flex our muscles in terms of what you guys know in terms of the Marvel anthology.
Sure.
But is Hawkeye training up his daughter to be Hawkeye someday?
Yes.
Because he calls her Hawkeye, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, amazing. And I don't think it was an accident that she had a bullseye when she shoots that shot.
Yeah.
Well, and similarly to, so like in Infinity War, Captain America is sort of embodying a character, is Nomad, right? From the comics. Captain America kind of goes rogue in the comics and abandons the shield and the star and is known as Nomad for a while.
Right.
His nomad suit is goofy though.
It is.
It
is.
Yeah.
But similarly, Hawkeye does embody sort of a character named Ronin
Yeah.
in the comics, which is
And I even
essentially
saw
what he has
references to
become.
that when trailers came out and we saw him dressed as he was.
Yeah. Which is super
Just slaying
cool.
everybody. But it's cool. And it's like very much of this movie is like handing things off to the next generation of
Yes.
something. And
Right.
it happens within the first 2
man,
minutes. Well,
it
30
is the
seconds.
theme of this whole movie
Very cool.
is here's the torch, carry it now.
And sometimes
Yeah.
there's a thing, there's a way to pay homage that can get cheesy in films, especially
Sure.
series.
Yeah.
Didn't do that here. I
Agreed.
didn't think so.
It
But
really set up new Avengers well, which I think is inevitable. And we'll talk about that when we
And
get to the
necessary.
end.
Yeah. But so right after Hawkeye, we get Hawkeye's family disappears. It's actually very sad. And Jeremy Renner really crushes this
he
scene.
really does a good job.
But we then for the first time get the Marvel logo.
Yep.
And then we cut back to, is it back to the
It's
battlefield?
It's Tony and Nebula.
Oh, that's right.
They're
yeah.
out in space playing table football.
Paper football.
Right.
Paper
Yeah.
football, yeah.
And so we get to see Tony in
Looking
space.
real sickly.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's been 22 days since the snap. They're kind of floating adrift in space alone. And they're rescued by Captain Marvel, which
Yep.
is awesome.
It's really cool.
And we get to sort of see the effect that this has had on Tony, how it's affected his mindset. I think sort of the culmination of everything else that's been happening to him.
Yeah, I actually loved that. I'm glad that when he got back to Earth, there was not a big like, Cap, I'm so sorry. Tony, I'm so sorry. Like, they're still very much at odds. Like, Tony sees this as, this is his I told you so moment.
It felt real.
And it's such a perfect between the two of them too, because Captain America continues to be stoic and he's not going to take a bad jab at anybody because he doesn't stand for that. And Tony is just shooting bullets and falling
really
apart.
below the belt.
And it really,
he's fiery and he's
almost
angry
every single time the two of these guys were on screen in this movie, and it happens often too, but this one was like here's the focus. It's these two characters.
Yes,
it is
100%.
Anytime these two were together was the best, I think, the best scenes I've had of them together. Civil War is pretty cool when they fight and how they have to deal with that.
But I think I prefer the cleanup in this movie from the fight. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah.
Like watching them repair and then kind of exceed even where they had been previously was awesome. But we get sort of this, I don't want to call it half-baked, but this quickly put together scheme to fly to the planet that Thanos is staying on and honestly, get the stones.
Like, that felt relatable to me. And I don't want to go into this trying to bend this movie to what I wanted it to be.
Sure.
But like, there's so many rational decisions that I make, and we've already even seen our heroes make in past movies. That's like, let's put this together quickly, and let's not nearly as much. Like, we're so angry, and like Thor's feelings of this almost feels like at the helm. At the helm is how Thor feels. He is the worst version of how, like, the anger of what has happened.
I think I agree.
For sure.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, we've got this crew that have found him. Nebula knows where he's going to be because of what he would always say. Thanos would always say.
Yeah.
And
one of my favorite things that happens here in this scene is, one of my favorite things about this whole movie is the subversion of expectations.
Yeah.
I feel like at almost every turn it was just different than what I thought it was going to be. And I really going in felt that I knew what was going to happen, and I did not.
Yeah.
And I love how in the first 15 minutes we get the plan that I think most people probably thought it was going to come down to is let's go get him.
Right.
Yeah.
And in the first 15 minutes we watched that fall flat.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I want to say before we get to the planet that Thanos is on, there is a specific scene that is just a shot. And a lot of what this movie has done really well, and some of the best I've ever seen in movies is, the MCU has done this for a long time in terms of, we know these characters, they're meeting for the first time. They're meeting again after a long time.
Right.
They're in completely new environments. Infinity War was a lot about crossover.
Right.
But now, like, they kind of set the stage, and Rocket's like, who hasn't been in space? And they all raise their hands. And then we get a close-up of Cap's eye as he starts to see warp speed. And this is a man who has
grips the chair.
He grips the chair, has never been in outer, like, I don't know what it was about that scene that was just a beautiful to me. He just does just enough, like, opens his eye a little bit more to be like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Here we go.
Yeah. Like, just right into it. So I thought that was so cool for him.
Yeah. And I loved Rocket and Tony's interaction in that room when Tony's kind of not feeling great. Thought you were a Build-A-Bear until right now.
Goodness.
Laughed very hard. And so we'll talk about my take on the humor in this movie in a little bit. I've got strong opinions about how I felt about it. But first I want to talk about Thanos.
Yes, let's get there.
They get to his planet and very quickly discover,
looking like Harvey Dent.
Yeah. The second snap, the first snap, we saw some of the scarring.
Right.
The second snap has really done a number on him.
Yeah.
And what we find out is the second snap he used to destroy the stones themselves. They're too powerful and too much temptation to have just sitting there.
It almost killed him. Yeah.
And I think this goes to serve a complete juxtaposition to 10 years ago Thanos that we meet later.
Yeah.
And we see how much he has grown and changed and matured in 10 years and how much worse it would have been if this conflict had happened 10 years ago. I think is kind of what we're seeing.
Even 9 years ago.
Right.
In 2014.
Right.
And I think it was good too to be able to, and again, all, like, they checked every box. Like, a lot of ends were tied in this movie, which is one of the biggest pumps of the whole thing. But the fact that, like, it makes sense as to why he, big spoiler, gets defeated right here in the first 15 minutes because he is not himself.
Right.
He is weaker than he has ever been.
And he's done his job.
And he's done his job. He's not really fighting back.
Right.
Yep.
And so he gets brought down very quickly, and Thor walks in and just kind of out of nowhere cuts Thanos' head completely off.
Completely cuts his head off. It feels like we are like joking with the audience right now, and we're going to do a 180 and be like, JK.
Just kidding.
That's
they
not what it's
hugged.
about. But he absolutely does. And they've done something in the film, and you look down and you're like, wait, isn't this 3 hours long?
Yeah.
What happens now?
Right.
But you know what's funny to me? I always have thought Josh Brolin has done an amazing job with Thanos.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
You know what's funny? I was kind of sad. I was like, is he not going to be?
I was too.
Is
I was
Thanos
too.
not going to be in the movie anymore? Because
I was
that might
too.
affect my opinion on the movie. You know?
Yeah.
I completely agree.
But it was, and for Thor to do that, and I hone in on Thor. We in our last meeting Monday, Thor's my favorite.
Sure. Yeah. One of mine too.
And his in actually he says I aimed for the head, which was a big line from Infinity War.
But he sounds so broken when he says it.
He sounds so broken.
What else could I do?
Yeah. He has nothing else to do. And so massive. But he's gone and movie over.
We get our 5-year time jump.
Yeah. And the way that they present that
immediately.
and how slowly, like you see 5 years later, it's like they already recognize they've been real twisty, and it's even getting deeper.
And
so we're like,
everyone
okay,
hurts.
well
Yeah.
now I have to really prepare anything I thought would happen all over again. This is a new experience for me.
So I say quickly, it's relatively quickly because this is a long movie and they're able to take their time, which I'm a big fan of. But we're pretty quickly introduced to where everybody's at and what they're doing now, 5 years later. Love that Cap is leading a support group. I think that's exactly what Captain America would be doing. Like,
I love that
that's
so
completely
much.
right.
And one of them's Russo, right?
Yeah,
one of them's the
it's
director.
Joe Russo.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Sitting right next to him. Yeah, which is great. So a fun fact that I saw is that all three of our 3 main boys, Thor, Cap, and Iron Man, each get a scene sitting directly next to their original director or their best known director.
Yeah.
So he's with Joe Russo, and then Tony is with Happy at one point,
With
and
Jon
then
Favreau. Yeah.
and then
Waititi.
Thor sitting next to Taika Waititi as Korg on the couch.
Yeah.
It's pretty
That's
cool.
really cool.
Playing Thortnite.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
So we sort of see that Nat is leading. I would call it a ragtag group of Avengers at this point with Mom Haircut, Captain Marvel, and Rocket.
Comic precedence.
Yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't look super great in this.
Absolutely. I
in
wish
my
they had
opinion,
shaved up
but-
the sides a little bit. That would
Yeah.
have
And
been
I
cool.
decided I'm not going to have a super dump be something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's cheap. But
Yes.
there were moments where I was like,
Come on.
I can't sleep at night if I don't at least super dump something. But yeah.
Right. But yeah, Rocket,
Okoye.
War Machine, Okoye. Yeah.
Yeah.
So awesome group, but small group and
Small
sort of
group.
piecemeal. But yeah, so we see that, and then we see that Banner is kind of Gray Hulk, which if you're familiar from the comics,
Professor Hulk is probably more accurate.
yeah, I guess that's true.
Gray Hulk is a little bit more, has less inhibitions than Banner.
Yeah.
And so he can do the nice things Banner's too self-conscious to do, and he can do the awful things that Banner is too good to do. Gray Hulk, his personality is Joe Fix-It or Mr. Fix-It or something like that. It's weird. The Hulk stuff is all super interesting, but this is probably the closest comic precedence to this is probably Professor Hulk.
Okay, cool.
Retains all the intelligence of Banner and all the strength of the Hulk.
He kind
I
of
get
feels
real Beast from X-Men
Dude, I
vibes.
was just about
Is that
to
really
say
what you're gonna say?
Yeah.
yeah.
No
Yeah.
way.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
I was going to
that's
say Beast. Yeah.
100% the vibe that I got.
And for some reason, Beast is always Kelsey Grammer to me. It's
Yes.
not the new guy, which
Yeah.
is funny, and it's not even probably not the best iteration of Beast. But
That's so good.
just the fact that
I
Fraser
really
was a
liked Kelsey
superhero. I
Grammer
know.
as
Yeah.
Beast.
But I didn't see that coming at all. Loved it.
No, me
Yeah.
neither. That was such a surprise.
I'm skipping over Ant-Man just for now.
Yeah.
That's okay.
But because I want to briefly talk about Thor.
Yeah.
Fat Thor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't believe they stuck with it for the entire movie. And guess what? Fat Thor, best Thor. Thick boy Thor, juicy Thor is so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's great.
He was hilarious, but he was like powerful and his arc was incredible. Like, oh my goodness.
yeah, he was
Yeah,
really
and
great.
I'm
had-
living for Thick Thor right now.
I didn't know what to think about it because
At first
this
I didn't
is
either.
like my baby. Like
I know.
because
Yeah.
Thor's my favorite. I was like, wait, is he just? And yes, he was as he most often is, perhaps leading the way for comic relief. He's up there with
Sure.
Star-Lord, which is the reason why those two have so many scenes together.
and
Yeah.
great chemistry.
And great chemistry together, Chris and Chris. Well done. But yeah, I'm kind of relieved to hear y'all's opinion about that because I was like, it's going to be tough for me. I don't know if this was my favorite Thor.
Yeah.
But it just felt, I didn't want it to be too much of just silly, like,
Yeah.
but the fact that it was kind of wrapped up in, this is just how he dealt with it. Like, he's never really been mature.
Yeah.
Like
No.
this is a immature God's response to making the biggest mistake of his life and not having his planet anymore.
This feels like a good place. It's not my super pump. It almost was. But I do want to talk about the use of humor in this movie.
Yeah.
The Russos, I want to give it to the MCU as a whole, but I'm going to specifically give this one to the Russos. They are experts at what they do in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But maybe one of their greatest strengths to me is their ability to use humor to ingratiate a character to the audience. So something that they are good at doing is they don't waste jokes. When you're laughing and you're joking, I believe that their goal is to make you love that character more.
Yeah.
So that you're more invested in what they do. And to me, the perfect example in this movie is Thor. The punchline is, haha, he got fat. He's so goofy looking. Now it's Gimli instead of Thor. Ha ha ha.
Right.
But the truth of the matter is he was depressed and fearful and angry at himself and so sad that he spiraled and did this to himself because of how dark a place he was in.
Yeah.
And then we get to watch him crawl back out, and the crawl back out isn't return to former glory.
No.
The crawl back
or
out.
even Thormer glory.
Nice. But the crawl back out is, I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do, or rather what I am.
I'm going to be who I am, not who I think I'm supposed to be.
Right.
Great line.
And
such good writing.
Man,
So good.
I just the fact that they took this, what I think could have been easily left as just a dumb punchline, and made it poignant and powerful to me was so impressive.
Yeah, and I have a pump and a dump here.
Yeah.
The fact that fat Chris Hemsworth, gross Chris Hemsworth, is still infinitely hotter than me
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that sucks.
makes me,
It's a pump dump.
it's pretty sad.
Yeah,
Pump
it's a
on
big
him,
bummer.
dump on the pain it causes me.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like they tried their best to make him gross,
make him
and
uggo.
yet this guy is somehow
Pretty good looking.
pretty attractive still.
Yeah.
And it might be what is on the verge of Dread's long hair and massive beard.
Yes.
He can do anything to his face.
He can.
He's had an eye patch, 2 different colored eyes, short hair, long hair. Anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I'll
pretty
have a
frustrating.
separate podcast.
It's pretty frustrating.
check out
Two
the brand new
Chris's and a
episode. Yes, me and the Chris's. Anyways.
But we get Ant-Man. Is there anybody big that I'm missing? Oh, Tony, duh, family.
Yeah. Morgan.
Woo. Another twist,
Morgan
right?
Stark.
Is Morgan Stark in comic books?
I don't think so.
I'm not aware of any precedents for that. There was a line in Infinity War when he's talking to Pepper and he was like, "Hey, are you sure you're not
Right.
pregnant? I had a dream that we had this kid and we named her after your old boss or your mom or your cousin or somebody, Morgan."
Yeah.
And so she's like, "Tony, I don't think so."
Guys, okay.
She was.
Nope.
Or, I mean,
Do you think, and granted, we're going to have something, Tony Stark with another hero has what we were talking about, this theme of passing something on.
Right.
Do you think we'll ever get a Stark in a suit again? Like the fact that
Well,
the first time
Rescue.
we
I don't
see her,
think so. I think we'll
she's
get-
wearing a helmet?
I think we'll get Rescue. That was Tati's Rescue. I think that was Pepper's suit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that's that's the comic precedent is
Her name is Rescue?
uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And she.
Man, I sure wish we get to see her fight later.
Oh, wouldn't that be great?
That would be so awesome.
Wouldn't that be swell?
Yes, I have to. Man, I didn't know a better time. I need to do it now, but I'm going to super pump.
Whoa. Okay.
Nope, I'm actually going to wait.
Okay.
That's
I like
that's
that.
my tease.
I
That's my
like
tease.
that.
That's my tease.
What a
That's my
good
tease.
trailer.
The family stuff with Tony was amazing, but
Yeah.
we got to talk about Ant-Man for a second because he comes back, and I love that it all depends on a rat walking across the right button in the van.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, and here's the weird thing. I think in another movie I would have hated that, but the fact is, this was the 1 in 14 million. You know what I mean? Like it's all down to like Doctor Strange knew everything had to work out perfectly.
Little butterfly effects.
Right.
Yeah.
And so like there is this is going to sound dorky, canonical precedent for why this worked.
There's a sense of fate.
Right.
Yeah.
He comes out into the real world again. Boom. He's not in the quantum realm. And we see Chang from Community as the security guard, which was great.
Amazing.
Which was great. But man, that scene where he was quickly looking for
Guys, Paul
Cassie.
Rudd killed
Paul
it.
Rudd
Acting was
crushed this.
unbelievable in this whole sequence when he's looking for Cassie and then when he finds Cassie 5 years older than when he last saw her. Like, unbelievably strong acting.
This
from
was
Paul
a
Rudd.
shot in the arm for the Ant-Man franchise.
I agree.
This movie. He did so well. And there's a lot of scenes that were some of my
Yes.
favorites that he's involved in.
Yep.
So you talk about the rat crossing just to be able to start up the time machine again, and the 1 in 14 million. I think I've already referenced it once in this episode, but sometimes movies will get along, they get momentum, and they're like, crap, people like this. We need to keep making more movies and try and tie these loose ends together. There's something about the MCU, for most of it, a large percentage of it, that was like, they knew from the very beginning.
Right.
Like there's ways that we can reference back. I think, and we're about to get into some time travel, but I think Doge was saying before this, like, and I respect both of y'all on your knowledge of even stuff like that, of something that technically doesn't exist, but it does in the movie world, right? Like, you know about time travel. But what were you saying before the podcast? That you tried to...
Yeah. I was trying to find holes in the time travel, but the way that they've done it is they've isolated the time travel. Essentially, these are alternate universes within the time stream. Like, they've branched off at certain points. And so this is not... Like, when spoilers, 2014 Thanos comes to 2023 is when this movie takes place.
2023.
When he comes 9 years later into 2023, that's not, air quotes, our Thanos.
Right.
That's Thanos from a parallel time stream.
Yeah.
Right. And
So
the confusing part is like, it is the same Thanos, but it's not.
But it's
You know
not,
what I mean?
right? It's from a parallel time stream. So like changing his past doesn't, like killing him doesn't erase what happened in our past, but it prevents that from happening in his future. Like it's...
Well, and I like that they addressed that if everything goes back to how it was after they're done using the stones, then the time streams can sort of like realign and become
Steve's
one
got to
again.
clip the branches.
Right.
Yep.
And it to me, it is the most, this is back to dorky again. It's the most responsible use of time travel I've ever seen in a movie.
Because
I
when you
think.
introduce a closed loop, like something in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban,
Right.
in Interstellar, when the wormhole's by Saturn, because it's always been by Saturn, then there's a sense of like fatalism, like we can't affect our own choices.
Right.
And you open the door to different paradoxes. With this, it's isolated enough that you can do anything you want in the past.
Yeah.
Like Steve fighting himself in 2012 doesn't mean that he is fighting and has a memory of fighting a clone of himself in 2012. It's just, that's something that he's doing right
And as
now.
long as he goes back and, I like what you said, clips the branch, it didn't happen.
Steve says that.
Right.
Right before he goes back in the quantum tunnel at the very end.
And it's such a big pump for me because it's, who would have thought that 21 or 22? 21 right now. Far From Home will be 22.
Right.
The 22nd film.
Yeah.
21 movie. I keep thinking back to 11 years ago when it was like Samuel L. Jackson signed a contract for 20 movies. And I was like, what on earth? Like, that's kind of dumb. Because in the sports
Who would
world,
do that?
In the sports world, you've got a 30-year-old who's the best baseball player in the world, but you signed him indefinitely. Like, you signed him for 15 years. And you're like, oh, well, honestly, when he's 40, he's not going to be worth $20 million a year.
Right.
But somehow this whole series has done it. And it feels like they knew from the start exactly what was going to happen at the very end.
Yeah.
See, I don't think that they did. It
I
feels
also
that way.
don't
and
think
Well, I don't think they did
it's a
either.
testament
That's
to the
why I'm
writing.
pumping it.
Yeah.
Yes.
They managed to, Well, so credit where credit's due to Joss Whedon. Not a huge fan of him, but he put in the work at the beginning. But I got to give it up for Jon Favreau at the beginning of this whole thing. I mean, he set it in motion. He's the one who contacted RDJ. He's the one who was like, I want you, man. Like, that is
that's like when
foresight.
When Favreau does things in the Lion King tour, he's like, no, I don't want Jeremy Irons. I want Ejiofor. I think
makes
he's
you go,
already
okay.
Sure,
Yeah.
whatever
There we go.
you need, dude.
Yep.
He's earned the right to choose.
I'll be in the seat once, maybe twice.
Yeah. And it's just... But, so I wanted to get through sort of this beginning stuff so that we can get into the meat of the
Let's get
movie.
our pieces on the board.
Yeah. And so they decide through Ant-Man's quantum realm that they're going to try and go back in time and individually retrieve all 6 stones before Thanos ever gets his hand on them.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they narrow it down to, at one point there were 3 in New York, there were 2 in space, and there was
The one was at Asgard?
1 in Asgard, and then we're missing one. No, that's it.
That's
6.
the one that was by
That's
itself, yeah.
That's 6. And so they branch off into these teams, they get their cool white suits, and they go do their business.
Yep.
This is, I would say, the entire second act of this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And because I want to give all of this, the second and third act, the time that it deserves, I'd like for us right now to go ahead and pump those brakes, take a quick detour through the quantum realm into the time for a shout announcements.
Shout out.
Well, welcome to Shout Announcements, the part of the show where we give shout outs and and make announcements.
We do that.
Simultaneously.
We're going to give a huge shout out to Wax Space and Tyler Station here in Dallas. Wax Space, Tyler Station, thank you so much. We drink your coffee. We record our podcast. We're in you right now. Thank you, Wax Space and Tyler Station here in Dallas. Also, podbean.com. That's right. It's a website, and we use it to host our podcast. We pay them money. We put stuff on you. Thanks, Podbean.
Also want to give a shout out to whoever is in Wax Space Tyler Station right now, vacuuming up all the dead Avengers.
Yeah,
I
all the
really
dust.
appreciate that. If you can hear that at home, just know that we're sucking Spider-Man and Doctor Strange and Black Panther right up, going to throw them in the trash can outside our building.
Also, a shout out to podcasts are kind of a thing these days.
Yeah,
and so we're glad there's several of them. I think we're one of maybe 2 or 3
Yeah.
movie podcasts out there.
Yeah.
So that makes us the best by far.
We're the premier movie podcast.
We're definitely the premier movie podcast.
We did go to a premiere of a movie yesterday.
Hey.
So podcasts are a big thing. Actually, the Enneagram's a pretty big thing right now. I'm
Yes,
a
it
2.
is.
What are we?
I'm a 5.
7.
257. I've got a good friend, Ben Larzabal, and his brother Sam, who's also a good friend. He's not just a brother of my good friend. Y'all are both good friends of mine. But they've started a podcast.
I got this friend Ben, and I hate his
Some
brother
other
Sam,
dude, some
but
other
he's
dude.
there too.
They've started a podcast that I highly recommend. It's on Spotify right now. iTunes is taking a little bit, but it's going to be kind of like us, anywhere that you get your podcasts.
Yeah.
And it's called Story Shaped Life. And so essentially what they're doing is saying that, and I'll give you a little bit of the intro, but they're talking about how a lot of the times we kind of put ourselves into a narrative,
Yeah.
which is what the Enneagram does too. But sometimes too, and it's funny because sometimes people think cinematically. So it'll be like, this is my role in the Lord of the Rings narrative, except I'm putting that as a carbon copy of my life.
Yeah.
The thing that's wrong with that is that, well, I could feel that way. And then Jordan could say, well, I'm in the Star Wars narrative.
Right.
These two things do not interact.
Sure.
And so it's like, what grows us, what makes us as individuals. So it's about discovering yourself, getting the best out of yourself. And I've listened to the intro, and it's actually really good. We wouldn't be pitching it. I think they know too, just because they're my friends, I wouldn't be pitching it for their sake. Like, it's really good, and I would recommend listening to it.
Yeah.
They're going to go through the Enneagram. They're actually their first Enneagram episode. They've had an intro episode out now that's about 20 minutes long. The Enneagram starts off with the 2, which they had me. And so
Ooh.
there's a chunky
awesome.
hunk on that one. So
There you go.
it's me and a good friend of mine as 2s. They'll always have a guy and a girl too. And just talking about there's the stuff that they've created and written about the Enneagram, what they really think defines who we are. And we kind of dissect that stuff together. And so it's really
That's
interesting. It's worth a listen. Another shout out I have, what's been really cool about Two Chunks and the momentum that we've had in terms of listenership and downloads and stuff is it's always been something I've wanted to share, but even more now because I am confident of what we've put out there already, what we've produced. And so I saw a good friend of mine, Jordan Patterson, at a restaurant the other day, and we had not seen each other in a long time. I mean, it was like the 5 years later thing from Endgame. Like, he has a child that I didn't shout out. Jordan, I'm shouting you out on the podcast. I don't even remember y'all being pregnant. But now here's this child that looks like it might almost be 2. And so I'm like, man, it's been a while.
Right.
But I knew he loved movies, and he was talking about Endgame. I was like, well, we're about to do a podcast on that. And also, this man, I always called Kronk, because he basically sounds and looks like Kronk.
That's so good.
And I was like, dude, we did Emperor's New Groove. And so he's like, dude, I've got a relatively long commute. This is perfect. He reached out to me as we were sitting in Casa de Chunk. He said 2 things. He said, 2 chunks and a hunk. Bravo, my friend. Such a breath of fresh air in my podcast life.
Wow.
You guys kill me and you kill it.
Wow.
And then he said
Thanks, man.
about Endgame. He said, holy crap. You guys are going to have a hard time finding a dump for that movie. I'm really looking forward to that episode. I am still on a high from seeing it last night.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's funny too, like, we hadn't reconnected in a long time. And then his text after that is, I hope we've confirmed that this is Jordan Patterson and you are Carter. Otherwise, I apologize for random texts. Because I realized the stuff that I said ahead, he like unpacked a lot of stuff. And all I had like responded was like, something just random to him, and he's like, actually, this could just be someone playing with me right now.
That's so
But
good.
shout out to Jordan, and shout out to, oh my gosh, like, we have 117 reviews.
That is
I
awesome.
feel like the last recording we had was 104
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
Something's
You guys
happening.
are crushing
Thank
it.
you very
and we
much.
should,
Thank you.
and we get surprised, and I think out of being humble, and then it's also not a surprise. I stand firmly by our content, and so
Sure, yeah.
please continue to do so. Subscribe, like, share that. I think I know you're doing that. We
Yeah.
have confirmation. There are handles now of these reviews that I don't recognize them at all.
Yeah.
and we're really starting to get out to outside of the close circle. It's growing.
We're
a lot.
so thankful for
New
you
chunkies
guys.
are coming to our family every day.
Yeah.
And we love you new chunkies and you old chunkies, all chunkies.
Sweet, sweet chunky
Love 'em
We
all.
love
babies.
you very much.
Even those that are thrown away, and they've been in the trash for a couple hours. We still love those.
Pull you out, microwave you, give you the bad toots.
There it is. Well, do we want to talk about this next series that we have?
Yes,
I
please.
think we do.
Okay.
If you listened to Mini Monday yesterday, which I hope you did,
Or any day.
or all of them,
That's the thing. We release them on a day, but then they're
you
on
can
the
listen
internet.
whenever. That's
you can
kind
listen
of the cool thing
forever.
about podcasts.
Continue to be.
On-demand entertainment.
We talked about our new series that we're starting called Choose Your Choice. So this series is something that was cooked up by Soundboy Adam, and it is going to be awesome, I think. We are finally, for once, getting to make a decision. No, we're each bringing a favorite director and 2 movies that we think are worthy of talking about from that director.
Yeah.
And we're going to sit through and talk about it. This is going to be sort of different than anything else we've done because some of these movies are of a different caliber, I think.
This
than
also
anything we've
feels
talked about.
uniquely vulnerable.
It does.
In the sense of like, I'm showing up with these like, guys, I would give these movies. I want to donate to buy that poster. I really hope you like them as much as I do.
How y'all feel about them?
It sort of feels like I'm walking in and being like, this is my favorite jacket. Does everyone like my favorite jacket?
It really
tell me
feels
you
like show and tell. Like I drew this picture.
This is going to be this,
good.
and I feel like this is going to be beneficial in so many ways. A, for the listener to get to know us better, but honestly, for us to get to know us better.
Yeah,
I
Can't
think
wait to find out y'all's last names.
I know.
This is gonna be amazing.
Justin, right, was your first. That's the first time I'd heard it yesterday or
Crazy.
today.
So we chose our movies separately from one another.
Correct.
And brought them to one another and kind of told each other what they're going to be.
Yeah.
And we realized after sharing which 2 movies we're going to do, our directors have something in common and it is awesome.
It is awesome.
It's
They have,
really interesting.
They have all 3 done movies about something very specific and their take on this specific thing. And we all 3 separately brought those movies.
Yeah. Didn't
to
we end up,
this.
doesn't that end up almost falling back to, it doesn't all fall back to back to back.
It is
does
all back to back to back.
Wow.
It's 3 in a row.
That
of,
is awesome.
Of similar form.
I love it.
It's so cool.
That's going to be a whole lot of fun.
Yeah.
It starts off next week.
Yes.
Which
it does.
I just got excited because that means I'm watching this movie
This week.
In a couple of days.
in a couple of days. Ridley Scott is my director. For a lot of reasons. And the 2 movies that I chose was to kind of show the breadth of what he's able to do.
Yeah.
But anyways, we'll deal with that a lot more later. But my first movie is Gladiator.
Wow.
So we're going to watch
Yeah.
Gladiator and have that next week. So
So
Russell
good.
Crowe, Joaquin Phoenix, good movie.
So good.
And so we'll be reviewing that next week. And so
Awesome.
we would love for you guys to join us.
Please,
It would make
do.
us very glad.
There it is. Well, I guess it's time to put our nose back to the grindstone. Head on back to the show. And we're back. And now we're kind of entering into Act 2, the heist portion.
The time heist.
The time heist. I love that.
Time heist.
I love that so much. So Tony's back on board because he solves it. He cracks it.
I think it would be helpful to break down in terms of our 3 teams. Let's track each team through their journey through time.
Yeah, let's start with space.
Let's end with space because
Let's end with space.
Space leads directly back into 2000.
Let's start with Thor and Rocket.
Yeah.
So they go to Asgard during arguably the worst movie in the MCU, which I find very funny.
Yeah.
And it doesn't redeem that movie in any way, but I like that they did it well.
Well, I
It
also think
redeems
they
the
kind
part of that movie that was worth redeeming, which
Yes.
was Frigga.
Yes.
Because I love her.
Yes, and I also think that there was something too when they were trying to figure out the plans and explain the different
Frigga out
stones.
the plans.
And Thor is explaining the ether that it's almost like they're saying, hey, we also recognize this was the worst movie.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's like, dark elves. Ooh. Yeah, and I thought that was so funny.
That's
So
great.
that was good for me.
The main thing I really want to talk about here, I mean, they get the ether.
And
The
they
end.
got, I think it's more surprising that they got Natalie Portman back for this.
Did they or did they just reuse footage?
No, she's in the credits.
in
Is
it.
she? Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird? 'Cause
It is
she,
very
She
weird.
like did not enjoy her time
Yeah.
as
It's very
Jane.
strange. I'm sure she enjoyed the paycheck that was offered to
I
her.
mean, yeah.
But the main thing I want to talk about here is the Thor Frigga scene.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
That's
so
the main
very
point, I
good.
think, of this.
I love her acknowledgement of like, I know what's going on. I know it's weird.
I was raised by witches.
Yeah, I know it's crazy. And I love that she immediately jumps into mom mode. And I think seeing that and seeing her, because I feel like in the Thor movies prior to her death, we only really see her being a mother of unruly sons that need guidance.
Like discipline.
Right.
Yeah.
And now we get to see what she's really, I feel, wanted to do the whole time, which is sit down with her son and say, like, you're good enough.
Yeah.
But you're good enough because you're not good enough, kind of a thing. Like, you're not good enough to be what you think you should be, but you're plenty good enough to be what you are.
That is not at all the place I expected them to take Thor's arc, because his whole thing is like, I've got to do all of this stuff to be worthy of the power of Mjolnir. I've got to make up for all the stuff that I've done, and to have her completely subvert that and just say, no, you only have to be who you are. You don't have to be who you think you're supposed to be.
Well, and I think that acceptance really lends itself to making him okay with what happens in Act 3 with the hammer. We'll get there. But,
and I think 3, really I mean, Thor, Cap, and Tony all probably get the most emotionally beneficial rewards from going into the past.
Completely agreed.
Yes.
So, which makes complete sense.
Completely agreed. But yeah, that's really all I wanted to talk about with Thor's scene. I mean, they pretty handily receive the ether and it's game over.
Yes.
Yeah, they get out of there. But can we talk about Cap and Tony with Ant-Man and Hulk? They go to New York
This might
City.
have been my favorite of the
They go to the Battle of New York. And they
amazing.
They kind of dress like their old selves, which is great.
Yep.
Yeah. But real quick, Hulk and Tilda Swinton,
The Ancient One.
So good.
So good.
Yeah.
And
this is where we explain the branching timelines and the fact that
they do
this is a
good job of
like
that.
these are not closed loops. This is just essentially traveling to alternate universes.
And I love the respect shown to Doctor Strange in the moment when he says Stephen Strange willingly gave up the time stone, and she just immediately says, "Good enough for me. Here you go."
Yep.
Yeah.
Because she knows that he's the best.
Yeah.
And I think that lends credibility to his character.
Yeah.
Yep.
What a cool idea too for her to do that kind of soul separating punch and
to talk to Bruce.
Banner that comes out of the. It's so cool.
Now I kind of couldn't believe that she was in this, and I loved it. I was very
there were
happy.
so many people, like especially this time stuff. Like I can't believe Robert Redford was back for this.
Yeah,
and like so many people that they
the
like.
guy that plays Crossbones. Can't remember his name.
Yeah,
but yeah, I couldn't believe that. Great, love it. And so. We get Hulk going after the time stone there, and we kind of get a 2-for-1 going after the scepter and the Tesseract with the team of 3: Cap, Tony, and Ant-Man.
What was in the scepter? Which stone?
The Mind Stone.
Okay,
what ended up being Vision's stone.
Used to create Vision.
I don't know why it's because I was associated the Mind Stone with yellow, but in the scepter it looked blue.
Right,
and that kind of threw me off. But
well, I think that was they weren't sure.
Is
my
okay.
guess.
That's okay.
So Cap gets the scepter.
Yep.
Fights himself. One of my favorite lines in the whole movie when he says that I could do this all. He goes, "I could do this all day." Ugh, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
It's so good.
So cool.
And I kind of love that he almost gets beat by his younger self. It shows that aging happens to him.
Well,
yeah, we see that
other things
more
show
later
that
too. But I like that in the moment we see that he's not infallible and he's not just constantly getting stronger.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool.
Yep. And you get, the fact to get even in Steve Rogers saying, "I know that," and he's kind of like, "I'm tired of it. I know that." It's such a unique scene to have. You know, what would my current me say to my past me?
Right.
You know? And I think they
just, hey, settle down.
Yeah,
just,
relax.
Just chill out.
I get that. You're standing for everything that's right and good in this world. Awesome.
Sure.
Yeah.
But you need to listen to me right now.
Yeah.
You know, so I thought that was really neat.
And I loved seeing sort of what happens after the Avengers get Loki in 2012's Avengers. That was awesome.
The elevator and all that. Yep.
Oh, that was so good. But Tony and Ant-Man fail. The Tesseract is taken by Loki, which I believe is setting up his series and how we get a new Loki in the Disney Plus series. We're going to follow this Loki that
makes sense.
Took the Tesseract and got away.
Is it ever explained why he has the Tesseract when he gives it to Thanos?
He took it from the vault.
He took it from Asgard.
Okay.
Before Asgard was destroyed.
Almost was like it's his destiny to have that thing. Isn't it?
He always kind of ends up with it, which is interesting. But this leads Cap and Tony to go even further back in time. To a time when
1970.
Both the Tesseract and Pym particles were in the same place at the same time.
Yep.
That was the goal because the Pym particles needed to get them back. And so they head to the military base where Cap was turned into Cap.
Yep.
But years later and go get their stuff.
Yeah. I love this. I love Tony meeting his father.
Oh, it's
here.
so good.
This is so good. This is culmination of stuff that was like threads that we're picking up from Iron Man 2.
Yeah.
Of just repairing Tony's relationship with his father. This is just excellent. It's just so good.
Yeah.
I don't really have anything like as a movie critic to say.
I mean, I
other
agree.
than I loved it.
I loved seeing that Tony's growth into a father gave him empathy for his father. I think that's really unique to see in a movie. Somebody who resented their dad and loved them at the same time sort of grew more to love and less to resent through seeing what it's like to be a dad.
Yeah.
I just think that's so cool. And that's not typically a perspective. I mean, because there's not a lot of time travel, but like it's not typically a perspective that we get. And I think that's really unique.
Yeah.
And
Do you
really
think
interesting.
this scene was pretty pivotal too in the arc of Cap in this movie? The fact that he lingers and watches
1,000%.
Peggy Carter for a while?
1,000%.
Yeah.
I do too.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that
So we retrieve the Tesseract and the pin particles. Is
Got
there
'em.
anything else that happens here that we need to talk about?
I don't think so.
No.
we see young Michael Douglas.
Which
Yeah.
is also, that's crazy.
Impressive.
Young Howard Stark also is
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
John Slattery, is that his name?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
He's in Mad Men, right?
He
I
is.
think so,
Okay.
yeah.
He is. So they jump back. You want to talk about space? Some stuff
also,
goes down in
before we
space.
leave this, and we can't talk about everything, but I love Cap's scene in the elevator, paying homage to a scene that we've had
2012.
before where he just beats
Oh,
up
yeah.
everybody.
I was super nervous we were going to get an exact repeat of that scene.
I
But we
loved-
didn't.
I
and they
loved the Hail Hydra.
Yeah, Hail Hydra,
That was
and he
awesome.
walks out with it.
And I love that he kind of looked disgusted with himself for saying it too after
Yeah.
he walks out with the
Yeah.
scepter. That was great.
It's a nod to a fairly controversial panel in Captain America a few years back whenever it was revealed that through messing around with the Tesseract, somebody had gone back in time and changed Captain America's past to where he was and had always been
A Hydra agent.
an agent of Hydra. A lot of longtime fans of the character were very upset about that.
Sort of an inversion
I'm
of
kind
that.
of surprised that Marvel even included that here because there was so much backlash against that.
Well, and what's great is it was a burn more than anything.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it was fully justified and great.
Yeah.
And his face when he walked out was so good.
Excellent.
But let's talk about space. Space hurts, huh?
Yeah.
This hurts bad.
So we get what I thought was going to be my least favorite part about the movie and something that I ended up loving, which is the double nebula.
Yeah.
I really thought that I was going to hate it, and I ended up really liking how it was handled
Yep.
because it set up a lot. But Nebula's mind, because she is a cyborg and I'm assuming networked in some way, sensed that there was another Nebula
Yep.
in the past and sort of revealed a lot of the plot that was going on. And when Natasha and Hawkeye split off, Nebula and War Machine stay
Yeah.
to get is it the power
Power
stone?
Stone.
Yep.
And we get this great scene of Star-Lord
Yes.
singing with his headphones on.
This
And
is-
we
yeah.
sort of see the intro of Guardians from the perspective of what
Someone
it actually
watching.
sounded like.
Yeah.
And it's
And-
so good.
This for Jordan is especially great. This is your $2 billion moment
Yeah, this was the moment for me when I knew that I was making the cash dollar monies.
for box office balls. So Chris Pratt gets a credit in the movie because of
He
this
sure
and
does.
some stuff that happens later. But yeah,
He sure
congrats
does.
to you.
But they get the Power Stone and are kind of foiled when they're heading back to the past because Nebula drops and we find out all this stuff that's going on.
We get to 2014 crew, the introduction of Thanos to Thandos.
Thandos. Nice.
Thandos. Well, we're calling him that now.
Yeah,
With
we need
that
to.
helicopter blade of a
Yeah,
sword.
amazing.
Oh my gosh.
Amazing. And Gamora and Nebula.
Okay, let's talk about this. Here's my super dump. I think it was. I don't like that they brought Gamora back.
Okay.
I like that she was in it. I wish that she hadn't stayed behind with the crew.
Stayed in 2023.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I kind of wanted that to carry consequences long term.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be, to jump way ahead to speculation, I think that's going to be Guardians 3. I think it's going to be looking for Gamora.
By the way, we're going to call it As Guardians of the Galaxy. Is that our
Yeah.
guess? Is that
Yeah, I
Guardians
think
3
so.
is going to be called As Guardians of the Galaxy?
Is Thor ever a part of Guardians?
I don't know.
No, there is a limited run called As Guardians of the Galaxy, but it's no characters that we know from the movies.
Okay.
But I think Thor, as he currently sits in the MCU, is a perfect fit to roll with the Guardians in a movie.
You think he's going to roll with the Guardians in the movie?
Oh, yeah.
I think he should.
Totally. I think so.
I think it is perfect.
That makes me so excited.
Yeah.
If Disney can't, they got Gunn back for
They
Guardians
did.
3, right?
And if Gunn and Taika could play nice, which
That's
I think
kind
they
of what I
definitely
think is
could,
going to happen. Yeah.
there's nothing that would make me happier.
Wow. That's
My
fun.
super dump is actually similar.
Okay.
The double nebula thing, I think is done well, but I think even at its peak, that idea always just feels a little Scooby-Doo to me.
Okay, yeah.
And I don't know why
It was Old
feels
Man Jenkins the whole time?
Scooby-Doo. It feels, you know what it is? It's because of the movie Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase that came out when we were kids.
Yikes.
Do you remember
I
that
do.
one?
I do.
Where they meet themselves in video game world?
Yes.
Wow.
Yikes.
What a weird...
And the villain is like a lightning bolt as a person. Yeah.
Oh man, what a weird
That's so
brain
funny.
connection. But anyway, it just feels really like cartoony to me to be like, oh, this is bad Nebula and she's going to go back and but I like the way it all plays out and I think it's necessary for the plot. I don't know. Something about that just feels a little cheesy to me.
Yeah. I think I agree.
Anyway.
I think I agree with that. But I ended up being way more okay with it than I thought I would.
Me too.
But I have similar feelings about Gamora in this where it's just like,
Yeah.
I wish that had lasted a little longer. And I love Zoe Saldana.
Yeah.
So I'm not mad to see her back. I love seeing her back. I just wish that, and maybe the consequences are more personal between her and Star-Lord of he still loves her the same way and she has to learn to, or whatever.
Yeah.
But
fun thing about Zoe, she could kind of quietly be the only common thread between the top 2 highest grossing films of all time.
Yep.
worldwide.
Oh, yeah. Avatar and
Yeah.
I have a theory about Gamora in Guardians 3. So Adam Warlock is hinted to be in Guardians 3,
Right.
you know, from the GOTG2 post-credit scene.
Right.
He is a character in the comics whose existence has been tied to the Soul Stone.
Yeah.
And so there's a theory floating around, which I kind of like a lot, that somehow he is going to be an access to the soul realm where Gamora's child soul is. You know, that we
Interesting.
saw in Infinity War.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that somehow that Gamora will merge with 2014 Gamora
Consciousness-wise.
and become essentially
True.
our Gamora.
Ultimate Gamora.
Gamorissima.
So the other theory that I've read is that Soul for a Soul goes both ways, and that when Cap returned the Soul Stone to its home, that it brought back those sacrificed, and that would be how we get a Black Widow movie. Would be she returns to consciousness,
Yeah, that'd be great.
returns to life. So that would be interesting. Don't know how I feel about. Again, I have a hard time with the reversal of poignant death.
I do too.
It doesn't sit right with me all the
Speaking
time.
of Black Widow, do we want to go to Vormir right now?
Yeah, let's go to Vormir. So Black Widow and Hawkeye end up at Vormir talking to Red Skull. And I actually love the jump cut, the juxtaposition between that and Thanos and Gamora when a soul for a soul, this is your price. And Thanos immediately makes the decision. And we jump cut to Clint and Natasha back and forth trying to figure out
Who's he going to be?
who's it going to be.
Yeah.
And I love Clint's moral compass here when he says, look at all the things I've done. I don't deserve to keep going. You do.
Yeah.
And then Nat basically says, but I don't have anybody to go back to.
Yeah. It was just
You
really
do.
good writing.
Very good writing.
I mean, that almost a triple fake out there at the end between the dive and the
That
catch
was
and the
so
hook.
tense.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't breathing.
It was
during
so
all that.
tense. It was one more fake out away from being too much.
Too much.
But
I
they-
agree.
I think they did it
I
really
agree.
well.
We had a listener, Colton, send us in some super pumps and super dumps. This is his super dump. He says he feels like we gloss over the death of Natasha. We don't give it the time that it needs.
Yeah. I don't agree, but I hear that, you know?
Yeah. I think that all entirely depends on your personal affinity for a character. You know what I mean?
Sure,
Because for me, you know, there's going to be some characters where if they die, I'm ready to move on to the next scene a lot faster than if Captain America dies, I'm going to want to spend a long time there. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I feel like with Natasha, for me, an example of this would be her absence is what I was going to feel more than watching her die. And so I was ready to move past it and just notice that she wasn't there kind of a thing.
Yep.
You know? And so that's sort of where I was at.
Yep.
But she gone.
She gone.
She done. Clint comes back with
We'll
the
get
Soul
more of her
Stone.
though, because she's got her own movie coming out.
She does. Assuming they don't cancel that.
Right.
And say, we were just kidding. We didn't want you to know she died.
Dude, what if?
Whoa.
That's a possibility.
Dang.
Doubtful,
What if
but that's a
they cancel
possibility.
Far From Home. Just like
Nope.
surprise, guys.
Done. Don't talk about
Didn't
that.
happen.
So
Thanks, Jake, for nothing.
we're back we're back in 2023 is what we established. And,
yeah, because this is 5 years after the snap. The snap was in 2018. So.
Right. We've got all the stones, and Tony has created a Stark suit gauntlet.
There's like a Hulkbuster gauntlet.
Yeah. It's made of the nanotech that his Mark 1 million or whatever is made of.
Yeah.
And so while we're talking about this, I know this is kind of a spoiler for later, but hopefully you've all seen the movie if we're talking about this. Later on, when Tony changes his glove into a smaller gauntlet, all I could think is this is why they did the nano suit.
Yes.
Absolutely. The whole time, this is why they did the nano suit for this moment.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
In the first movie, they established it can adjust to whatever I need to. Boom. There it is.
Yep.
It's brilliant.
For a couple of different reasons.
What a domino.
In Act 3. Yep.
What a domino.
We should mention Bad Nebula is back too.
Bad Nebula's back. So as they're getting the snap ready, and Hulk says he's the only one that can not die, basically, by snapping.
Yeah.
Foreshadowing. Bad Nebula shows up and pulls through, what is it, the Dark Aster? Is that the name of the ship? Yeah, pulls through the Dark Aster.
I don't think that's the Dark Aster.
It's Ronan's ship, isn't it?
The Dark Aster is Ronan's ship.
So
this is just Thanos'
the
ship.
big nasty boy.
Millennium Falcon, I think.
The Millennium Falcon.
The big Naster.
It's good that there's
The
3
big
Marvel
Naster.
experts here today.
Yeah.
Right.
Technically, Marvel does publish Star Wars comics. So you know.
Hey!
They pull the ship through, and
Thanos.
so Hulk snaps, and his snap is to bring back all that were snapped away.
Pump on the way that they show how that affects him.
Yes.
Yes. That he can like barely close his hand.
Yeah.
That reminds me of how easily Thanos defeated the Hulk in the beginning of Infinity War.
Right.
He's just so much
stronger. Yeah. Now, I did laugh. I read something last night where somebody talked about how Clint's wife calling him means that he kept her cell phone plan active for 5 years.
Jeez.
And I think that's very funny.
That is very funny.
Also, that's heartbreaking.
Oh my
if
gosh.
he did do that and like never gave
Just
up
in
hope.
case he got a call back.
Yeah.
Oof.
I have a super pump here, and I feel like because we're going to get, super dump, because I
Okay.
feel like we're going to get past it too
Yeah.
quickly. Okay, yes. There was a way for it to make some sense. We are in a superhero movie. A lot of these people just don't die,
Right.
no matter what they do. Something tells me a missile to the face
Yeah.
Yeah.
should have killed Scott Lang.
So, and I'm not defending it. My only thought is maybe he shrunk just in time to where it was all blast and, no
too.
fire.
And I get that too.
Right. But
But
hear
there
you
was way too
completely.
many things to be like, and
I really thought they were killing him. I thought when
thought
that
he was
blew up,
dead.
I thought he was done.
Everybody was dead, and Hulk was about to have to snap one more time to reset everything.
I
Gonna
thought that
fight
too.
Thanos in Wakanda again.
I thought that too.
I thought
So-
that's exactly what was going to happen.
and it was, I mean, they give us big old explosions. And yes, it's like
Huge.
that
Ironside,
Avengers
like
facility
all
is
these guys,
done.
they have either the suits or they're superhumans. So cool, you live.
Yeah.
But like, how does Hawkeye live? Rocket doesn't get squished. He got like straight up Meg column squished.
Yeah.
Can we talk
And
about
Hercules.
how heartbreaking that was?
Yes, that he can't breathe.
I was like choking up.
Made me so sad. But they kind of, the Russo brothers played with this throughout, and they're about to do it again when we have this fight. One of my favorite fights, maybe my
Oh my
favorite fight in the whole thing. They make you think you're going to lose somebody, and then they change it a little bit. They're like, nope, you thought so. He's not dead. But my super dump is this scene in particular. It looked amazing. I was able to say similar things like you did. Maybe his suit gets small just in time, but
But
it's
the
just
fact
like,
that we have to resort to justifying it means that there
Right.
could have been something a little extra done in the writing.
I think I agree with
yeah,
that.
Yeah.
for sure. And they did this to themselves in the best way because
Yeah,
they've
yeah.
done that with everything else, and they
Right.
wrote it so well. But
Right. No, I
that
completely
was
agree.
my super dump.
So it starts popping off at this point.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
We're separated by
it's keep
rubble.
away.
Yeah, and it is now time to get this gauntlet,
Yep.
and we got to start moving. And everybody is sort of doing their own thing here. We've got some people down underneath the building. We've got some people up top that are going to go confront Thanos, and we've got some people sort of putting
Man,
some other things in
I
motion.
love that up top crew of the big three. Like, what's he been doing? Just sitting there.
So this was actually
Just
my moment
waiting.
where I decided I was okay with Thick Thor.
Really?
The most okay. Because
Yeah.
I liked him the whole movie, but this was my moment when he suited up and had,
Hey, would that be like Stormbreaker with 2 C's?
yes, Stormbreaker
Perfect.
or Mjolnir. I don't know.
Yeah.
But when he had two hammers and was fully suited up and was
Which,
fat,
by the
and
way, if you've seen the movie, you know why he has the other hammer. But when he's in Asgard,
Yes,
he calls on the
that's
other
right.
one. He says, "I'm still
That's true.
worthy," which was actually a pretty big line.
it was
Yeah.
awesome.
But yeah,
No, you're absolutely right.
catalyst for where he is right now.
But with 2 hammers fully suited
Whoa.
up, he still looked amazing.
Top knot, a little bit of a knot, not a top knot, but there's something
That
going like
braid beard,
Anyways, his
Like
transformation
Viking, Super
into
Viking.
wooey.
Yeah, and I think you said last night, Doge,
I
he looks
did.
more Norse god.
He looks more Norse god. He looks like Big Gimli. I think I said Gimlissimo.
Gimlissimo,
Yes,
that is correct.
Gimlissimo.
Your number one joke, Gimlissimo.
It's the only one I know.
And he
That
looks like-
eating trash.
He
Those
kind
two
of looks like
things.
Odin a little bit. Like he looks like
He
his
does.
dad.
Kind of does.
So
We
Can you
get
imagine? That's the thing, though. This carries back to I think it was my super dump for Infinity War. Can you imagine how cool that would have looked with an eye patch, though, instead of his
Come on,
eye?
dude. Keep that
I
eye
want the
patch.
eye
Keep
patch.
the eye
If you're
patch.
gonna keep him fat, you can keep the eye patch.
real.
Like, come
Pirate
on.
dwarf god? Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
I'm
Come
in.
on, I'm into it.
I'm in. So we get this awesome 3-on-1 confrontation.
This is the most nervous I've ever been
Yes.
for somebody that I don't know.
Yes.
And I've got to say, like throughout, and we're going to even see it, like the biggest flexing of muscles the MCU has ever done in terms of CGI and choreography and stuff. But it has been done so well throughout this series. And man, maybe the penultimate is this movie that I completely take for granted how hard it is to film stuff like this.
Right.
Okay, well, we're going to have the
when
scene.
Chris Evans is the only real thing there.
Yes,
Right?
and it's like, okay, it's not like they're asking Tony, now remember, shoot him twice.
Right.
Now,
and you dodge here.
Now, giant purple man from another world, you need to make sure and block it. Like, no, it's done so well that I never even think like, oh, I don't know what
The magic is the fact that I don't even think about it. I think you're
that's
right.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's like
And
unbelievable.
something else, I just want to point this out, and I'm not going to do this anymore. Marvel succeeded at something DC has tried to do like 5 times in their DCEU, which is fight on a fiery, dark, cloudy battleground, and it looked good.
Yeah.
Right.
DC has tried that with like several movies, and it always looks like a soundstage.
Yeah.
This looked like a real place.
And
Yeah.
it's not the first time they've done it.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was just the most like dark fight we've seen.
Oh my gosh.
So we get this fight. I think that everybody's sort of getting it all handed back to him by Thanos.
Yes.
We get
cool moments
the
too.
sword, the shield shattered.
Gosh, when he chops down Cap's
The-
shield.
Yeah, and the shield shattered happens though post the new weapon that Cap
don't
gets
think it
to
does.
No, it's after that. His shield gets shattered and he drops to the ground, and then
No, because Thor is getting stabbed.
Oh, you're right.
in the chest.
we
at
did
that
see it
point.
twice. We only
You're
saw it
absolutely
once.
right.
Yeah,
You're
and
absolutely
so
right.
and he gets it at that point because he still has a shield because he's using the two together.
yep, we
to
see
kick
we
booty.
see the hammer lift,
Yeah,
and we know who it is. I jumped out of my seat.
One half of my super pump.
This was almost my super pump.
This is one half. I can't pick between these. It's one half.
This
of
is my
super pump.
hypest single moment of the entire movie, but it's not my super
I
pump.
get to
this
sit
is-
by Adam at this part, and he like up in his. It's like the moment
convulsed.
when you realize someone doesn't realize that they're in a room anymore,
Right.
Yeah.
and he's just like everything's put aside.
I saw him
He's like,
jumping up and down and screaming
Yes.
very loud.
He was
People were-
throwing
people were
popcorn
so
all over
mad.
the room.
like a monkey at the zoo.
It
But
was crazy.
People were so mad.
We get Cap.
This was a similar emotional reaction to me. I think I've talked about it on the show before in Star Wars Episode 7 when the X-Wings arrive on Takodana
Yeah.
and they're flying
Over the water.
That just like there's an emotion within me that is, and I don't know where it's coming from, but I'm like,
But it just makes you want to be like, ugh.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
So this fight with Cap with the shield and the hammer, I thought for a second we were going to get a Stark suit to fly out and cover him to protect
That'd
him.
be amazing.
And he
Like
was just
the-
going to be like all
everything?
three.
Like the
Wow.
Iron Patriot suit.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be
I kind of
amazing.
thought that for a minute, but
Yeah.
We
I
get
thought
this-
we were going to get chainmail all the way down his arms when he raised the hammer up. Because you know he has the chainmail.
Oh, that would
like
be
the,
very awesome.
The like feather mail.
Yeah. And I'm glad they
chest
did
piece.
that, by the way.
Yeah, very cool.
It looked super awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, we thought Thor was going to die. I mean, at that point, I was like, he's about to get this axe
Thor's
through his
gonna die.
chest.
Yeah.
Right.
And then, so Cap does that, and his shield is getting shattered. Like this, the scene that was so disturbing to me, and it's supposed to be, is Thanos just is not even calm and cool anymore. He is trying to wail on
Right.
Cap.
Yeah.
And just that like,
And to know all the power
over
that
it,
he has to destroy that shield,
Yeah.
I thought, okay, well, here goes Cap.
It's
You
the
know,
only thing. It's the only thing that's ever damaged the shield besides
Black
Panther's claws.
Yep.
It's the only other thing.
Yep.
So we get that, and it's not looking good.
That just made me think it would be cool to find out later that Thanos' sword was made of adamantium. If
Oh, crossover,
adamantium's the
universe
only thing
crossover.
that can damage vibranium.
Yeah,
besides
that'd be
vibranium.
cool.
Anyway,
that would be cool.
So after they've been defeated,
We got,
or seemingly
yeah,
defeated,
Cap slow stand.
which you got to have. You got to have the Cap slow stand because
I
he
thought
can do
was
this all
about to
day.
die.
I
I
did
thought he was
too.
going to die.
He's got
Well,
the shield
it is
and he
a-
gets the hammer.
It felt very much a Battle of the Bastards, Jon Snow running at an
Yes.
army.
It did.
yes.
Because they give us I think Thanos starts to talk about how, man, there's so many. And every single thing that Thanos says is the drip of that cold brew. Like it's been steeping 24 hours. Like so good. Yes. And just talking about like, I knew you would come back. It's like the only, anyways.
So I'm currently getting chills, which means we have to start talking about it.
Yeah, he reveals his army. So there's a reason that makes it an even bigger deal about what's
Thanos is basically saying it's game over for you.
Yeah, because everything's
got my
happening
army here.
Like we already knew Ebony Maw was back. We assumed the other big four of the, what does he call it? The children of Thanos.
Yeah.
They're back. We're like, oh, that's right. They're not dead anymore.
Obsidian.
Oh, all these things aren't dead anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I've got full body chills from head to toe right now. We hear the voice. We hear Sam's voice.
Yeah.
And he says, right here, Cap, on your left.
On your left.
Oh, so good. This until the credits finish is my super. I tried.
Dude.
I tried to find one moment.
No, this
is
is
it. The last 45 minutes of this movie is my super pump.
It's so good.
When all of the people that studied at what is it? Camartage. When all of them start showing up, bringing through portals, Spidey steps through. Winter Soldier steps through.
That was my $2 billion moment. Just,
was it?
We're tracking those when everybody has theirs.
It was.
Yeah.
It was. Spidey steps through. Everybody steps through. All I care about is Spidey right now. But
Valkyrie on a Pegasus, like
guys.
It was everything. Like it was sorcerers, people from Wakanda. It was the Valkyries. Like it was everything.
The only way to say it is I've seen this poster. You know what I mean? Like I've seen this poster with the drawn characters.
And it's such a comic book thing to do, right? Like everybody's back. Much. All of what is good is fighting all of what is evil. But it is not ridiculous. There is nothing about it that you're like, really?
That's what the cheese
blows
was earned.
My mind. Yes. And then Ant-Man even coming out from underneath all the rubble to give us the Hulk
in his hand.
And that kind of gives you a size to scale of how big he is right now.
The funny thing is it is a full reverse of something that the Hulk and Ant-Man do the other way around.
Oh, really?
Where Hulk throws Ant-Man like a baseball.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And so it's a full reversal of that where instead it's more like a blowing butterflies onto your enemy, but with Hulk instead.
And there's somehow like, I don't want to say more than Braveheart or something like a battle scene in front of the Black Gates of Mordor and stuff, but there's something about hearing Ibom and then a million other Wakandans say Ibom that gets I'm ready to punch. I'm ready to dive into a herd of dogs. And I'm just like, let's go.
Well, and they're coming in hot off the Battle of Wakanda. It's not been 5 years for them. They're ready to go.
Yes.
Yeah. And
dude, that's a good point. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. And I love that. So there's so much awesome here. We're going to have to brush over stuff.
I agree.
At least a little bit.
The only thing that I am going to die if we don't talk about is Avengers Assemble.
So yeah.
Because that's the other half of my super.
We get our first ever Avengers Assemble here, and it is so understated and beautiful.
Dude, he waited so long before he said Assemble.
And it was quiet.
Yes.
And I loved it. Avengers was loud, and then just Assemble. And then,
the charge at each other. Man, the battle scenes that are happening here are so good. Let's at least, do we want to set limitations on ourselves to find at least two things each, or if we all have the same thing?
So the one thing not the one thing, there's a lot of things. I want to talk about the women of Marvel.
Woo. Yes.
This is Colton's super.
What does Okoye say? She's not alone?
Yeah, she's not alone, which is the same exact thing that Black Widow said in Infinity War when they said, you're going to die here alone. And then Black Widow says, but she's not alone. And it's her and Okoye and Scarlet Witch. Except this time it's Scarlet Witch,
Can't even name them all.
Okoye,
Potts.
Valkyrie, Potts, Captain Marvel. Like it is. Gamora, Nebula. Like
Pepper's
everyone.
back in an Iron Man suit, by the way.
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
Yeah.
It looks good.
It looks amazing.
And it's not like Iron Man 3 let us know that she can fight, right? It's not like we're like, what?
Right.
His wife can fight now? But yeah. And that scene too, because Tom Holland, man, he's also the most saturated scene for seeing goodness. Like, he's way up there in the MCU. He is so, there's never been, is Tom Holland the best iteration? Like, is he more Peter Parker?
Yes.
Than Steve Rogers, than Chris Evans is Cap.
Oh.
And that's okay for us to have this conversation because a lot of the big ones that they've done are perfect.
That's hard for me. I would say equivalent at least.
Yes. Yeah.
And especially now. He gets these small moments that characterize him more than anybody else does. These moments where he's woo-hooing or where he's calling back to something, or where he's meeting Captain Marvel and introducing himself first name, last name, and
and Captain Marvel does big damage to many things.
That big ship, and
I could see her fly through ships
all day
long.
I love the callback to instant kill mode.
Yeah, that's great.
With Spider-Man,
like all his little.
Because if you're going to use it, now's the time.
The only person to have in their top 5 on last week's Mini Monday, their top 5 Marvel heroes had to have Wanda was Doge. Do you want to talk about the scene that she gets?
Woof.
She's wonderful. Like, she's great.
Wonderful. She's wonderful.
Stop. I don't have words to say about it.
She says,
really?
You took everything from me.
Yeah.
I don't even remember. I don't even know who you are. And
she was about to kill the bro. She was about to kill him. Like, it felt like she was about to rip him apart.
She gets I'm going to go back and say, I think maybe the most cold-blooded line of the whole movie is hers.
You will?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know who you are. You will.
Yeah. And then just like rips him up.
She turns into a demon.
Yeah. And he says, bring down the fire. Like, I can't handle this chick.
Right.
Like,
and then they bring down their own
He needs
fire.
help. Like, when else has Thanos said, help me?
Right.
Yeah, for real.
Except for Scarlet Witch. And that's amazing. It's so cool.
The only time he's like asked for help. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yep.
And
we gotta get to the
I know
this gauntlet.
I'm avoiding it.
We gotta get there.
I'm avoiding it on purpose. I think.
I'll say too, I'm excited. A good thing that this movie does too is like, man, I'm so excited for more Spider-Man. Man, I'm so excited for more Black Panther. I'm legitimately excited for more Doctor Strange.
Yes.
Yeah, I really do think Benedict Cumberbatch, it is such a different character that it's hard to compare like what he's doing, but the role that he has. And so we have a moment where Tony says,
is this the one?
Is this the one? And Doctor Strange says, if I told you, it can't happen. And then the moment, can we get there now? Like where Tony looks over? Or
I do want to say the catalyst. This scene launches into the final movement of the plot here.
Yes, I do.
Did you
Before
want to
we
have
get
the
there,
hug first?
all I want to say, so the hug.
Yeah.
The reunion between Tony and Peter was unbelievable. It was everything I wanted it to be. But then something else I want to just not only mention really is I think it is so important to acknowledge how cool Keep Away of the Gauntlet was.
So cool.
I think that was our largest teamwork moment in the MCU.
Yeah.
It's way
just
up
as
there,
far as number of bodies involved.
Yeah.
Was amazing.
Like Spider-Man holding the gauntlet, riding
Mjolnir. Oh my goodness.
So cool.
Thrown by Cap.
Guys.
Like, and he calls them queens, and I teared up a little bit, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Imagine describing this scene to me. Like, we're talking about, what would you say
like
to your
a
past
decade
self?
ago?
When I walked out of Iron Man in 2008, being like, hey man, just wait. In 11 years, there's going to be this.
I think I would have bled from my ears.
Yeah, I can't believe that. Anyway, we got to get there.
I know. Okay.
So Carter, talk about that Doctor Strange scene, because that launches
So there
us into
is, we're all like, we would all call ourselves film critics. I think my natural bent is to look at acting. I've been fascinated with that. I did it all through high school. I've taught it before. I'm just blown away by just phenomenal actors.
Yeah.
The fact that our catalyst scene is without words.
Yeah.
Robert Downey Jr. simply looks over. Tony Stark looks over. And I don't know what to call it, because it feels, I would almost call it the best delivered line of the whole movie.
Yeah.
But what Benedict does to just simply raise his one finger, and then Tony goes back and knows. This is not a minute long.
No.
But something happens just in this 50 seconds.
My heart sank.
Your heart breaks. And then you're like, well, I need to anticipate what's about to happen. And then we can go into like, so we see a few attempts to get the gauntlet.
Yeah.
So Cap comes in, like, well, there's two Caps, aren't there? So Captain America, does he have an attempt to take the gauntlet off? Or is it Captain Marvel first? It's Tony first.
Right.
And then he punches him away.
Yeah.
Captain Marvel comes in and we show her power, which is great. And I was going to say, like, I think what's tough with Captain Marvel is what you have to do with Superman sometimes, because it's like, well, she's almost invincible.
Right.
So how do you defeat, even for a little while,
that
Captain
Power
Marvel?
Stone scene was bananas.
Where he grabs the Power Stone to punch her.
I saw somebody on,
Amazing.
I think it was on Reddit, I saw somebody say, in that moment, I kind of wanted him to win because it was just so brilliant.
Yeah.
Like,
real
okay,
smart.
You earned
cool.
it.
Puts it back in. And anyways, all that stuff is happening. We look back and we have that scene. And so then Tony decides to just go for it.
He sneaky steals.
Yep.
And he changes his suit to the small gauntlet. And Thanos says, I am inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, well, I'm Iron Man.
I am Iron Man.
And he snaps.
Yeah. And then Thanos' snap, that was just metal. That was just a kink and like nothing happens.
Oh,
you know?
yeah. That's
We
so
look down and
great.
see the stones like winding down onto Tony's hand.
Yeah. And then
Man.
I am Iron Man.
So
And he snaps away Thanos and his army to completely mirror the ending of Endgame
Yep.
or Infinity War.
Yep. For sure. My super pump, I didn't know what it was going to be as I'm watching this movie the first time. I knew after the first time because I saw it twice, but I knew at this point it had to be this. But just I can't super pump Tony Stark's death scene.
Because it hurts too much.
Yeah, because it hurts too much. Also pumped to how they made him look. It was gruesome.
It
was
was
like, man, ooh, this is disturbing. And it was supposed to be. And there's all these things, awful things like Peter Parker coming. And it's hard to talk about.
That's the passing
Peter's
of the torch
reaction was
moment.
the worst.
Yes. And we had Don Cheadle first, but so like War Machine.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we have Peter Parker. And then we
finally
have
Pepper.
Pepper.
And I just want to say, I hope I'm not stealing your thunder here.
No.
Please stop me if I am.
No.
Tony gets to rest in the face of a grateful universe,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is what Thanos said he wanted to do when he quote unquote saved
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
And Tony finally gets to rest.
This is the first time Tony can rest.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
since Yinsen saved his life in the cave, this is the first time that he can be confident. I didn't waste the second chance that I was given.
I'm full body chills.
Yeah. Robert Downey Jr. is my super pump.
Yes.
Yeah. As he should be.
And it's like the super pump that the ripples touch every
Oh my gosh.
movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Just even too, and we get an homage later with Happy sitting down with Morgan and talk. Your
Man.
dad
I
loved
can't
cheeseburgers.
handle that.
No. Nope.
Whew. It hurt.
Yeah, it was tough for sure.
Anything with Morgan after the death of Tony is instant tears for me.
And this is my opinion. Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man is the best actor, like portrayal of a superhero, like a fit.
Yes.
It fits
Yes.
so well.
Yeah.
He will always be considered one of the best like superhero renditions in cinema history
For eternity. Yes.
for
Yes.
eternity. He does so well. And even though there's so many quips and jokes and jabs and stuff, it doesn't really get old. Somehow he's just
No.
naturally still charming and arrogant and all these things that Tony Stark becomes. Like he felt like an actor that got to kind of change the narrative of what a superhero that's iconic
100%.
was.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot. And the fact that he gets this final scene, and you know what's so funny? Am I getting emotional on this podcast? So his last line isn't "I am Iron Man." His last line is "Hey, babe." He's just talking to Potts,
Yeah.
and it's right there, and it's just those two.
Yep. And it's a callback to the beginning when he says, just so you know, tonight, like every night, when I drift off,
It's you.
it's going to be you
Yeah.
that I think of.
Technically,
It's
his
always
last
been
line
you.
is "I love you,
Love you 3,000, which
Yeah.
is.
which also broke my heart. But
Do you guys think? I want to talk about this real fast. Do you think that's going to be a thing now?
I love
I
you
love
3,000.
I hope not.
I bet it is.
I really hope not.
I don't
I
know.
hope we
I don't know
keep it
how I
to
feel.
this.
I don't mean in the movies. Sorry. I mean culturally. Do you think people are going to start saying "Love you 3,000"?
Yes,
Yeah, probably.
I think so too.
yes, for sure. So, yeah, I think the way that they said goodbye wasn't cheesy.
Correct.
You know,
No.
here's the difference between Fast and Furious and the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
There's only one.
Yeah, well, a big one in terms of paying homage to someone like and it was heartfelt too. But
Yeah,
like
there
our
wasn't a
Paul,
Charlie Puth song.
our Paul Walker goodbye on the beach when everybody's wearing white and stuff. But then this one, like to have the funeral and to kind of go to every pocketed.
Every single
This
group.
is to say, and they
Including-
give us proof that he has a heart, right? Like
Yeah.
they're like,
from
here's
Iron
the,
Man 1.
yes,
The
here
thing
is
that
the
Pepper gave him.
catalyst. Look at what this created, and
Yeah.
it is
Well-
just the biggest flex.
And
Including, at that funeral, is including Ty Simpkins, the kid who
the kid from
plays
Yeah.
Iron Man 3,
Iron Man 3.
Yes,
The
he's
kid
one of
in
the
Iron Man
last
3.
ones.
which shows that
His
they've
name is
kept in touch
Harley?
in some way. Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just so cool. I mean, do we go to the funeral right now?
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
so
I
what
think
else
we got
is
to
there to talk about at the
brush
funeral?
the end of
we do all of that.
But you get your moment.
This is one of my moments. So it goes to and very finally after Cap. And again, I love the acting is so good. You know, you got to think before this scene. You're asking these 50 people to think of this character that they've played in several movies. How are they reacting to Tony Stark's death? Every one of them's perfect.
Yep.
The Wakandans are just standing so stoic and just so well put together, and just the way everyone reacts. What a heartbreaking arc for Bruce Banner.
Yeah.
Yes.
But anyways, and then we get to Captain Marvel, and then holla at you, boy.
Yep.
You make that money.
I make that money.
So that means none of us made
in the
that money.
bottom of the ninth inning, ladies and gentlemen.
That's so good.
And he even gets credited. We've checked IMDb. Chris Pratt Tom Holland, Samuel L. Because I got worried Lupita's not in this movie.
Yeah.
Lupita Nyong'o's not in this movie at all. So they didn't really get everybody back. But so that was...
I think that's because she's not in the MCU.
Yeah, she is.
Who is she?
She's Nakia from Black Panther.
T'Challa's love.
T'Challa's love.
Guys,
That's her
I
name,
totally
right?
forgot.
Her name's Nakia, right?
I think it might be Nakia.
I 100% forgot. I need to watch Black Panther again.
She was one of the reasons that I picked her for the team.
Yeah.
It was
so good.
But yeah. And so we get that with Samuel L. But just to... Man, yeah.
It was great.
It's just done so well at the end. And then I'll let you guys take, because I know Cap is y'all's number one.
Yeah. I think there's a couple of wrap-ups we need to hit.
Let's go pretty fast.
Let's hit Asgard.
Yeah.
Thor names Valkyrie.
Basically Thor.
Yeah, you're king now.
Ruler
Basically,
of New Asgard.
I'm gonna go. Yeah. I'm gonna go be me. I'm gonna go be best me instead of bad
because
version
this is
of
not me.
ideal
I'm not a ruler,
Right.
and I love that he goes
with the Guardians.
That. Yep.
I can see a scene already in Guardians 3 where Star-Lord and Thor are competing to see who can get fit faster.
Guys, I cannot believe that that's actually going to happen.
I think it is. That has not been confirmed.
And I trust y'all so much. And I know that there's not... And there's not really going to be, there's not a post-credit scene for this.
Right.
It's just a sound of, I think, the hammering from Iron Man 1.
It's the sound from Iron Man 1.
Just to say, hey, obviously there's more. We're not going to do any kind of spoilers on the next phase.
Which is good. That was almost my super pump, that they let this movie just be what it is.
Yeah. And it needed to be.
Yeah.
And the signatures and the credits at the end. But I'm jumping to the very end before we do some of this other stuff.
So that's our Asgard wrap-up.
Let's do Peter.
Yeah.
So Peter sees Ned. Ned crying almost got me, dude.
Yes.
I love that boy.
Yeah. And Peter walks into school looking like he's been crying.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure he has.
Man.
Poor boy. But yeah, so Peter's back to normal. It actually killed one of my theories. I've been saying for a while, there's no way that they can just bring everybody back and continue life as normal. But I think that's going to be a theme moving forward is how do you recover?
Yeah. What year, are they just going to be like, hey, let's just decide.
Seniors 2023.
Let's just decide that it's 2019 now.
They could, I guess.
You know what I mean? Are they going to just be like, hey, some of you guys are 5 years older? Like Peter and Ned were both snapped then, I guess, because Ned's not 5 years older. Yeah.
Scott Lang all of a sudden got really close to Cassie's age, or much closer. It's it's funny.
But
I think they're setting Cassie up to be Stature. In the future, she's a size-changing hero. She's like Ant-Man, but it's his daughter, Cassie Lang.
And how cool is it that the Marvel Cinematic Universe, almost everyone that is being handed the torch is either a child, a woman, not white.
I think that's one of the biggest strengths of the MCU is they are being so intentional with their diversity and inclusivity that I think it's showing in not only audience reaction, but buy-in of this is what life looks like.
Well, and no one has the right to be offended by that. Are you serious?
Yeah.
If
you're offended by, sorry, I don't want to alienate.
We gotta wrap up Cap's.
I don't want to alienate people, so whatever. But Cap, he goes back to put all the stones, and he doesn't return.
I knew he wasn't coming back.
Yeah, no, I mean,
and I think Bucky knew too.
Yeah, I think he told Bucky.
But Steve, he goes back, returns all the stones, and then he doesn't come back to the time machine. He goes and sits on the bench, and he waits, and that's how he's back. Yeah.
Yep.
And
he's 110 at that point, by the way.
Well, I mean, a super soldier serum's got to keep you alive for a while.
No, that's what I'm saying. He's 110.
Which is sad because that means Peggy's dead. Peggy's long gone, yeah. But he gives the shield to Sam, which is...
I love that.
Comic accurate in some comics. And
so that's the thing is Sam's the only one that Cap has ever passed the torch himself.
Right.
Bucky became Cap for a while when Cap was dead or presumed
Quote,
dead.
unquote,
he was kind of journeying through time. It was weird. I thought that was the direction they were going to go, but Bucky became Cap at that point. But Falcon as Cap, I think, is so good
because he'll keep the wings, he'll keep the shield, and he'll keep the snark.
Well, yeah, and the thing too is he just seems way more emotionally appropriate to play Cap.
I think so too.
I think there's too much that Bucky doesn't, and I love Bucky, but that he just doesn't have. And Sam feels way more like Steve Rogers than Bucky does.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and Sam has the military hero background, I think, to step into the role.
Yeah.
And the heart
he's
for
a
it.
captain.
Right.
Right.
I think that's great. And then, I mean, at this point, unless I'm wrong, we fade to black, and then
we have the dancing scene.
Because they see Steve's wedding ring, and Sam says, "You want to tell me about her?" And Steve goes, "Nope, I don't think I do."
Yeah, so good.
And he finally got his I'm getting chills again.
I told you guys, I freaking called this movie was going to end.
Well, you said
with
post credit scene, so I mean,
okay.
let's back off a little bit.
Okay.
I can
No,
give you
you're
credit
right.
for it.
You're
Dosh.
absolutely right.
Give me credit for that, guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, we end
crushed
with
that.
the dance that Steve promised Peggy in 1945. Yeah, there's not really anything to say about that.
Yeah.
Speaking of not really anything to say, I think we just rate this and call it a day. Because what have we not said? You know what I mean?
And
a
it's,
lot.
yeah.
It's the
A lot,
thing.
you're
Like,
right.
It's so
Yeah.
much.
There's a part of me that's like, let's spend 50 minutes and talk about every joke and how funny it was.
I know.
I just want to go see it again, to be honest.
Same.
Like right now, I want to go
I'm
again.
good.
I want to own it
I'm
and
good
watch it
for
in my
now.
living room.
Yeah.
We here at Two Chunks and a Hunk have perfected the art of rating movies with the scientific cinema scale, and it is flawless and as follows. The best thing we can ever say about a movie is own it, don't lend it, buy that poster. So let's rate this thing. No, I'm just kidding. After that is buy it, followed by rent it, then stream it. After that is forget it, and last, but certainly least, the worst thing we can ever say about a movie. God hath forsaken us. I'm going to go first. It's an own it, don't lend it, buy that poster. Maybe the easiest call I've made.
Yeah.
I'll go next. Own it, don't lend it, buy that poster. If you want to know why, see the last 60 plus minutes of this
Just
podcast.
go watch it if you want to know why.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy the poster too, and I'll explain a little bit more. And I think it's because they did something that seems like they did 21 movies and they ended it satisfyingly. Well,
Yeah.
even seeing early on, like, wow, 202 critic reviews, it's 97%. Okay, well, temper expectations.
Right.
I'll have the opinion myself. And that doesn't change. And what's funny is like I had more confidence. We talked about simultaneously, like Game of Thrones and the MCU, this phase kind of ending at the same time.
Right.
From like midway, I've had more confidence in this satisfying me than I do Game of Thrones.
Sure.
There's a part of me that wouldn't be surprised if the end of another epic series is not what I hoped.
Yeah.
And
not as well received.
And it was just
probably.
done so well. It's just writing. It's checking every box that's supposed to be checked for a good movie and for a
then
good
some.
franchise and then some. And so well done. Freaking bravo to Endgame.
Wow. I almost don't want to hang up the phone. You know what I mean? Like I want to keep it going, but
No, you say goodbye.
yeah, for real.
I love you more. I love you more than that. I love you 3,000.
There it is. Next week, please tune in for the first in our Chooser's Choice series with Carter's first movie from Ridley Scott,
Yo.
Gladiator.
Can't wait.
Carter's good friend, Mr. Ridley Scott.
Mr. Sir Ridley Scott,
It's gonna be
Esquire.
It's gonna be entertaining. I'm gonna use that joke as many times as I
That's
can.
fine.
That's so funny.
I
Can't
know.
wait for more
I'm
of
crazy,
it.
Every
dude.
time, man.
I'm crazy,
I'm
dude.
going to change my movie. No.
To end this week's episode of Two Chunks and a Hunk, I would like each of us to, one by one, release a contented sigh.
Thanks for listening.
Kiss me once, then kiss me twice, then kiss me once again. It's been a long